Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Otaku, having coming at you with another manga talk, and I want to talk about what anime is missing. In specific, I want to talk about the three major anime that are popping off right now. That includes things that are still running. Um, and I actually want to talk a little bit about Naruto here while I'm there as well. So Naruto, One Piece, um, Fairy Tail, just those three right now. Those are probably going to be the big ones. Now, what is One Piece missing? What One Piece is missing is fight overview. What I mean by fight overview is if you go back and watch Naruto and even some in Fairy Tail and Hunter x Hunter, any of the big anime, you get to see what happens when someone attacks. In One Piece, you don't get that. You get to see the attack that's happening, and then you get to see what the result is. You don't get to see what happens when someone attacks. Not even when Luffy does his Gum Gum Gatling. Basically, they fail in that area. You don't actually get to see the real thrill of the fight. For instance, Zoro. How many people want to see what his onigiri actually does besides, imagining what it does? Because, I mean, we see the slices, we see what happens at the end, but we don't get to see, like, an overview of what actually happens, which we can pretty much assume and put it together, but it adds a whole nother effect that it's not getting. If you've watched Hunter x Hunter, you get to see the clips of them fighting, and then it cuts off above their heads for a minute while they're still throwing punches and stuff. And even in DBZ, when they, warp towards each other, or no, warp's a bad word for it, but when they charge in towards each other and then start hitting real fast, and then basically that's pretty badass. Everybody enjoyed that as a kid. Then they warp again and do the same thing, or do another charge attack to another spot and start doing the same thing again, and that adds a pretty badass effect to it. Now, why do I say that One Piece needs this? Um, it's made some of the major animes. If you go back to 2014, which was a very, very good year for anime, um, look at Nanatsu no Taizai. It got extremely popular and is now contending to be potentially one of the next big three. And there's so many things that could dispute it about becoming the next big three, if there even will be a next big three. Hopefully there will be, but long running anime is actually dying, so that is a possibility that it won't happen. And the reason it got so big is because the fights were badass. The story was pretty good. One Piece has a good story, there's not a shadow of a doubt there, but the fights are lacking. And the fight Band versus Meliodas, or Bond versus Meliodas, however you want to say the name. You seen the fights. Not all it was Meliodas punches, Band goes flying. Bond punches Meliodas tanks it or something, or Meliodas goes flying. One of the two. It wasn't that. They actually had the overview of what happens when Bond was slamming Meliodas back and forth. There was a time at the end where he did cut, and then Bond was flown towards the end of another pillar or something, but it does have it. My point is that it needs to have it. It doesn't need to just have the cut and draw animation. That is the one downside of One Piece. You never get to see anything that happens in almost any of the fights, and that burns me up about One Piece. Now let's talk some more about Fairy Tail. I'm watching Fairy Tail right now, and I stopped somewhere around the Erasion Sace arc, and then started back for about 20 episodes and stopped again, and now I'm back again, and I'm probably gonna finish the first 175 by the next week or so. You might expect a review on that. I'm not sure if I want to do it because I don't remember the first 60 episodes all that well yet. I might just go recap it a little bit and then come back into the review. But anyhow, Fairy Tail. What's Fairy Tail's problem? Something to do with the story. I'm not really sure about the story. I mean, it's got a good story, but it's not enough to capture the emotions of everybody. Like something really badass happened, except for when like the dragon appeared. Um, what was it called? It was on Tenro Island. Acnologia. Acnologia was pretty badass, and it might change during Fairy Tail 2014. I've heard a lot of good things about like Lucy's power, and specifically, I can't wait to see that. And the dragons actually coming back and appearing. I think that does happen. Sorry if there's a spoiler. Anyhow, not only is it missing that, it's relying way too much on friendship and the power of friendship. Like this dude's a down. Natsu's been knocked down completely by Fairy Tail's ex guild master, and he's gonna even get knocked down further from taking Loxus's power and then actually exhausting all of that. He, in all terms, should have probably lost there, but the power of friendship got him to keep going. I don't know about all that, but anyhow, that's what is missing. It relies way too much on friendship and Natsuin specifically, but in specific bad words. But moving on, Naruto. What's Naruto like? Well, we already know the fillers too much filler in Naruto. Other than that, Naruto focuses too much on Sasuke and lacks some Naruto and other fighters. There was only one arc in Naruto that I believe that all the fighters, from what I remember, that all the fighters actually got to see a little bit of fighting, and that was when Sakura was fighting the puppet dude. It wasn't Datara, but it was I forget his name. But if you watch Naruto, you know what I'm talking about. We got to see pretty much everybody fight there in that little arc, and they had a good coverage. They didn't have just bare small coverage of each one, which is one of the problems I'm having. What was I saw in Black Clover here recently. Black Clover focused a lot on the main character, and the other fights didn't really get much attention at all. So that's the downside of that. Hopefully they'll correct that pretty soon, because if there's one thing that Oda does, it might make the story longer, but it makes it excellent for the people that actually like more than just the main character or the main two characters. He actually takes a second out for pretty much everybody in the crew, and that's like 10 members, which extends the story by a great deal, but it also lends more to displaying that character, what that character's all about, and all of that. And the next topic I wanted to talk about: what is the best shonen or action adventure anime? Watch Mojo did an actual review of this, of the top 10 action adventure animes, and not obviously the mostly shonen, but and No Game No Life got an honorable mention. That was pretty cool. I enjoyed No Game No Life, but Pokemon also got an honorable mention. Number one, I believe they got right on the money. It's perfect. Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Not my favorite anime by a long shot, but really it's the best written shonen anime that or shonen action adventure anime that I've actually seen, because it brings the feelings. Basically, Full Metal Feels was actually a title. Fans dubbed it for a while. In addition to that, the fights were not bad. The story was excellent. The art was good. I mean, there really isn't much bad you can say about Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, except that it gets slow sometimes, which is common in shonen anime. In addition to that, it's just the best. There's One Piece doesn't really compete with it. Attack on Titan doesn't compete with it. Naruto doesn't compete with it. Fairy Tail doesn't compete with it. Just it's really good. That's all there is to it. However, the rest of the list was shitty, and I wouldn't recommend going and watch that video, because although it had all the top potential winners in it, it just didn't put them in the right order, in my opinion. Because there's a much better order to who is the best and what anime did the best. This is bad. This is a bad list to me, except for number one. Number one was right on point, and that's my opinion, and that's my video for today, guys. Peace.